Hello. Okay, I think we are up and running. So I'm hoping you can hear me and see me if you're watching this stream. Okay, so let's just jump straight into the preamble. I should probably record something for these intros because they're pretty much the same every time. We are gonna be taking a look at some Rails live streaming, so Ruby on Rails. So I work on a product called EchoLeft, which does events, fundraising, and campaigns for organizations, mainly focused around good causes. And these kind of live streaming series, they're not tutorials. They're mainly taking a look at live code in a kind of real app that has real users and moving through. I kind of think that a lot of the live streaming stuff is often trying to show you how to do something, and so I thought it would be interesting for people to see just working on something that is just kind of more day to day. Hopefully, the feedback seems to be that people find it useful. So today follows on from the stream I did last night, which was around debugging items. So I've done a couple of things since then. I have changed a couple of the settings in YouTube, so I am hoping that this will be more high quality in the video afterwards. I am not an expert in how that stuff works, so I have tried my best. If anyone has any good resources I can look to, I'm using like just OBS and just the default YouTube live stream stuff. I don't if anyone has any feedback as to how I can make that better, then I am keen to hear it. Then I want to make these videos readable. Definitely the kind of editor on the screen, making that text as readable as possible as well, and making sure that it's kind of easy for people to read. So let me just bump my font size up again, which I did. Okay, so it's on 14, so let's try 15 and see if we can get that nice and readable for people. So I think yesterday was pretty kind of viewable. Okay, so let's take a look at Rollbar and a couple of things. I've got two issues. One is really similar to the one we were looking at yesterday. So this is 256. And this is basically the same type of error. So yesterday's we discovered that there wasn't a test around an action that shouldn't be getting hit in the first place. And that's how it was kind of being found by users. Here we have the same thing, which is that a method is being called on something that the code obviously expects to be there. Again, it looks like it's line 4. Yep, so current user is the same issue. Current user is from devise, and it's how we know whether someone is logged in or not. And by trying to say, hey, give me the first name of this person, the view is basically saying, hey, I expect there to be someone here. And the issue is either it shouldn't expect that, and we should handle that there, or there is an issue that they shouldn't be able to get there if there isn't a current user, which sounds, just looking at the content here, so current user.firstname, you are on step 1 of 3 of your donation. So that sounds like there should definitely be a user by that point. And so they are in the donation setup, which is the wizard process they move through. And we have a step called personal details where they enter their name and details and stuff like that. And so we basically want to know how they got there, so we can take a look at the occurrences. This obviously hasn't happened a lot, so only a couple of users have managed to do this, but we want to know how they did it. So there should be something on that controller action, presumably, to prevent them seeing this view if they don't have a current user. So that's where we can start, and hopefully we can prevent anyone else from seeing this. So just a bit more on what we was talking about at the end of yesterday's video, which is that this is Rollbar. Rollbar will create a corresponding GitHub issue. The trouble that I find is that it tries to do some smart grouping, but actually it creates a lot of issues. A lot of these I haven't gone through and kind of fixed them because I tend to use Rollbar, but they are duplicates, or basically they're all the same error, but they're it's just posting multiple issues. So we have like 69, but they don't represent that many Rollbar issues, which is kind of annoying. I might turn that integration off. But they've introduced this new smart grouping feature. So I think in here you can do something fancy. I can't remember really where it is. It might be because I'm viewing an instance rather than a specific error. But you can basically say, hey, this is this type of issue. Please don't create an issue every time. Just group it with these other ones. Okay. So let's head over. I just want to make sure that so on the stream yesterday we had a little dropout where my internet kind of went a little slow for a second. So OBS has this little green and red thing. So if you see me looking down in the bottom right, I'm just catching my eye on it has like green for good stream, and then it went red and amber. So hopefully yesterday was watchable. Okay. So let's jump over and take a look at the code. So we are in donation setup personal details index. So donation setup personal details controller. And again, I'm hoping that this is nice and readable for people. Let's jump over, make a branch for this. I've put my video in the bottom left, so hopefully, let me just check I'm not covering anything. I'm covering the bottom of the Finder, but I'm hoping that you won't need to see that too much. I tend to work like with my file here anyway, so I'm hoping that'll be okay. Okay, so let's take a look. So run master, git pull origin master, core, git checkout, -b. I'm just doing this because I'd forgotten how to do it at the end last time. Fix. I want to get into that habit I've seen people do of putting like a folder name, like a group name / in their branch names. I want to get into that habit. I haven't come up with a naming scheme yet, but I really want to do that. So I've seen like hotfix / then the branch name, and then I think when you go into, I use source tree, but I think maybe even if you go into GitHub, I'm not sure, they are actually grouped, so you can then collapse them down based on the prefix in the branch name. So I'm not that smart right now, and I don't really want to look into it. So let's just say fix current user issue. I'll do for now, just so I can work on here. So I think this might be the same kind of issue as yesterday, that we're using CanCanCan here rather than Pundit, which is the new authorization stuff that we do. So here we're using authorize bang, and in Pundit you just use authorize, so that's how we know the difference. But I thought that when we looked at yesterday, okay, so I've done some of them, or I've done nearly all of them over to Pundit. No, they're a mixture. Okay, fine. So the ones for so it's a path claim. So what is in the base control? Okay, so we just shouldn't be hitting it if there isn't a current user. So authorize edit donation. So this looks like, yeah, this is from 3 years ago. Like that's that's how long ago since I wrote that. Method. Hey Paul. I think I'm replying my own chat. Let me get back so you can see me talking anyway. Okay, so we just, I'm assuming, haven't swapped these out, although I'm interested to know even, I mean, that should still work. So let's take a look at our tests. Personal details, control the spec. So it behaves like a donation setup step. So if you aren't familiar with our spec, particularly it behaves like, is a shared spec. So you can write individual, so where a spec is a test. So you can write an individual test, which is it, should do something, but it behaves like, you can define shared examples and then reuse those over and over again. So it behaves like a donation setup step will be something that I have created to test the access allowance for any one of the steps during the donation setup. As the owner, as a logged in. Okay, so as a non-logged in user, should return a redirect response, and it should send them to the new user session path. So this path here should prevent them from getting here if they don't have an active session. Like, they shouldn't be able to see this. And once you have a cache buster turned on, so they really shouldn't be able to get there. Are they get request? Yeah, they get. Also, that's a bang method, which it probably shouldn't be, because then it will never hit this render. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward, checking that you should just like very basic access. So get index, which is what they're hitting, get. Oh wait, am I stupid? Yeah, I'm totally stupid. That's hitting the billing address step, not the personal details step. That is the URL they're hitting is billing-address. Oh, is that the path that we use for that? Sorry, that is confusing. Yeah, okay, that's super confusing. Why didn't I just call it that? So it is the personal details controller. The path is billing address, but it's still going to the personal details controller, so that we are in the right place. Okay, so can we recreate this then? So let's fire up a server and see if we can make this happen. So let's take a quick look. What migrations are there pending? Is this the same Postgres issue I had yesterday? I'm using I've got two different versions of the Postgres app open. Oh yes, I've got the other one open. Okay, sorry, hang on a second. So I have two versions of the Postgres. In the Postgres app, two versions running. Only one of them does have the right database in, so it doesn't fail. We just got to fix that. Refresh this. So we're just going to donate to a charity in my development environment. So we're going to donate. Oh, we want to be logged out. Oh, do we want to be logged out? Let's create a new user to do that actually. So let's donate. So let's say it's Joe Smith. let's not bother doing that. Okay, so this is then, that's the path. So donations, ID, donate, billing address. Yep, so we're in the right place. Okay, so I now have a current user. So and I don't get the error. So then if I hit it without a user, I'm sent to log in. So how did I get this exception? And how did I get it 16th, like 2 weeks ago? How did one person get it 2 weeks ago? Okay, so let's take a look at what that view is doing that they're actually seeing there. So here is the actual issue they're seeing. Although that is calling in a partial, so is there something in there? No, because it's only first name that's missing, so it is just a partial. So when rendering that view, there should be a current user. We're checking here that there is one. We do kick them out if there isn't one, and there is a test around that to check it. We also test to see if they are the wrong user. Even if they were the wrong user, current user would still bring something back. Just super paranoid. I'm just going to pull this off the screen for a second because I don't want that to have someone's personal details in it. I don't think we do. Just a generic user ID, so I'm just checking. No, okay, so let's check for the... Oh, okay. Okay, so there's nothing in here, but the referrer is weird. So they've obviously posted... Oh, but that's the same referrer because we came from create a new user. So that would be the post action. Can you see? I'm just going to recreate that and see if we can just wait, where did that go? This might be a bit small. Can I just do a +1 on that? Oh, okay, cool. So hopefully this is a bit legible. Oh, why is that so big? Hopefully this is a bit legible. So let's clear that and turn that recording off for now. So we want to go back to donate. You guys can still see, yeah. Okay, so I don't need real values in any of this. It doesn't matter. So from here, I want to record. This should come from /users, I think. Yeah, so so that is the correct referrer for billing address. That's one of the things that I sometimes look for. Oh, did they have a problem? It's not coming from /users. By the time they get to billing address, the referrer here is /donations. What? I'm going to do that again, but start recording earlier. Can you do just the pages? Like, does that do it? try to send an HTTP request if you breathe on the web page. No, okay. How do you get this there? Can you do the... Can you not get it to filter by document? Oh, doc. There we go. I guess it's a bit long. Okay. That's all the stuff I typed in. /donate. That's super weird. Because even if they had come from, so when we're doing that password screen, which I think it'll probably, so when we're doing this, oh, did they do that? Did they hit the back button? You're already signed in, okay. So when we show that password screen, there is a controller here. Account verifications. So we go from donations controller, we go here. We create the object of current user. We send them to create user or login. I'm not giving a lot of context here, I am aware of that. I'm just kind of smashing through it. I've done this on the other videos, so hopefully you can kind of follow along. But if it doesn't make any sense, ask me. Just ping me a message or something. Okay, so success path is correct. Would that happen if they had something like cookies turned off? Because we would generate the user, but we've stored the, and how would we send them to the sign up path? This might be one of those issues where I am willing to write it off because I can't recreate it, but I don't really like the idea that they managed to get there at all. So we rendered the create password from, okay, so where does that send them? That renders another form, so that's a wrapper, that's annoying. And then you go to devise, and this will pass you to /users. So that's where they were coming from. So they had gone to the devise form, Oh, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I wonder if they didn't come that route. I'm going to look that donation up. I'm going to do it on the other screen because it might have personally identifiable information in, so 17647, so bear with me just a second. You can watch me looking at another screen. I've already forgotten the number. 17647. Okay, so it never got assigned a user ID. Okay. That might be our issue. I can't show you on the screen because it's got the donor's details in it, but the donation should have been claimed. So I wonder if that's the issue, as how they could get there. Oh, okay. That might be something, okay. Bear with me, my brain is working, just hold on. You know what's really annoying about this is there are probably a bunch of people like screaming stuff like, oh, it's obviously something. Just bear with me a second while I look. It'd be useful to get some feedback actually. Some people have said they just want to watch people work, so is me talking through this not helpful for some people? Mind you, you can just press mute, you don't need to hear my voice if you don't want to. Ah, okay. Okay, yep, so I can see the issue. Okay, so I'm going to pop that on the screen, which is super annoying, but I'll put this snippet on that is relevant and is a complete cock-up. So it doesn't get hit very often clearly, but there is... let me put it up on the screen here. So we've got a few of these remaining CanCan auths, and it doesn't check for the presence of a user. It assumes there is one. And what claim is doing is we allow the user to create the model before we know anything about them. So they can type in some details, start their donation, tell us their name and whatever it is. Then we ask them for their password and create their account. And then when they come back, we claim the thing that they've just created, which is usually just like a blank shell. Maybe they've entered, like, for a donation, I think they literally just enter the amount. So we create loads of, so people don't actually bother to create the account. We actually create a bunch of, like, or borderline empty models. It doesn't really matter. So what claim does is this the thing where as we pass them to the next step, they're just like, hey, this is you, this is you, and then we check that the details you've entered match the ones that you've got, just to check it's you. So I hope that made some sense. So the issue that we have here is that claim doesn't check there is a user, it just passes you back if there isn't one. So, and then this is doing the same thing. So that's how they're able to get through there. So what we're going to do to resolve this issue is, my first instinct when I began this, however many minutes into this we are, was, does it tell me? 32 minutes. Okay, so half an hour debugging this. I actually wasn't really debugging, but my first instinct would have been to just swap CanCan out. Just wanted to know if that really was the case. And anyway, so on the right, we've got the CanCan rule. I don't know what they called them. And it's basically saying, can you do the thing that you think you should be able to do? And it basically says, do you own this thing? Are you who you say you are? And then it checks the state of the donation. And we don't really want to use this. We want to use the policy that we have, which should check to see if there is a user as well. So I think we actually have a donation setup policy, which we could just swap out. In fact, I think it must be in the other, because I mentioned earlier, there are already ones here. So this swapped out for that and that, because we don't care, but it's not claim that we want, it's edit, I think. Right. So then we can actually donation user is user. So that would be false if there was no user. Wait, how can we repro, before we swap that out, how can we repro what I'm just saying that user did? So just sorry, bear with me just a second. Okay. So we think they've got there without a user at all. So if I I'm totally doubting myself now. Okay. Okay, was that two separate instances of this? Yeah, like 1 day apart. Oh, were they the same user? 17986 is the other one? Oh, wait, I wonder if this... Hang on, bear with me again. Okay, so let me just check. There's 17647, 17986. No, it's a different user. Claim. Okay, so claim doesn't do anything if there isn't, not now, Siri. So claim doesn't do anything if there's no current user. Fine, just kicks you out. So they haven't claimed it. And then this doesn't check there's no user either. Okay, but then how am I getting kicked out when I go to it without a user? How does that test pass? The one that says, if I'm not logged in, send me to the login page. Like, why can I not, if that's the case, okay, no, forgot where I got to with this. So why can I not do that in that case? Yeah, I lost the flow here a little bit. Because that would still fail, because that would be nil. So I'd still get kicked out. Oh, maybe that would pass. I still need, so that could be nil. But neither of these have users. That is nil, so that's not nil, but it is in both of these cases. That would return false. That's nil. And that would be nil. That would come up true. Okay, so that's how they're getting past that. Okay, that makes sense. How is my test passing? Why am I being redirected there? Oops. Why can I not go to this path? So I just turn that off and then try and go to that path. Okay. So something those users did allowed them to make this true. Which was presumably that was nil and this was nil. Oh, wait, is that 18567? So that I can do this one on here. Can you see? I don't know where my stream actually is over here. Okay, can you see that bottom right? Okay, it's probably a bit small. Can I make that bigger? Okay, hopefully that's a bit legible. Wrong one. So we can do this one on here because there's no personal data because it's me. Okay, so that one does have a user ID. So the issue is, okay, so this is an issue in the claiming process. They got to the post where we created I wonder if they had an existing account or something like that. Because I want to know why that is, because if they're able to do it, that might be an issue with like, are other people experiencing that? Did they have to log back in? So what email address have I used here? Some gibberish. Okay, so let's go back. And log out, sorry. So I think we should detect that we have an account. Okay. Is this where that can occur? Okay, so that does seem to work. All right, I'm gonna just resolve this. I'm just gonna switch to the Pundit one. I'm not overly, oh damn it, I lost my undos. Okay, fair enough. Not overly keen on not knowing why, but I'm also not entirely convinced that chasing it down is worth spending huge amount of time on, because as long as that's the issue, then it's kind of an isolated case. So let's do what we did before, grab a policy out from one of these other ones, but make it edit rather than claim. Let's swap the console out for our spec. So again, on the right, it can get a little bit hard to see on small screens. Like I said, I'm trying to improve the quality of the playback stuff. So hopefully the settings I've changed will have improved things. If not, let me know. People seem to really watch these for quite a while, so I'm hoping that they're usable. The stats that YouTube give me are pretty bonkers in terms of, like, I don't know how accurate they are. I mean, YouTube could just totally be lying, but they seem to indicate that people stick around, so that's cool. But if this isn't readable at all, then what's the point? So, but I just want to try and have something on the screen that I can fit it all on. Okay, so that's I'm guessing having changed that, these tests were already passing. Like, I don't have. Do these still pass? No, okay, well, they broke, that's cool. Okay, so we've moved it to CanCan, so I'll swipe in here. Yeah. So we just want to take off the check. So we have these two methods here. One is skip authorization check. That's from CanCan, which is basically saying don't. There is an after action, I think, within CanCan, which is the authorization work, which says make sure the user got authed in every single controller action. So verify that the user is authorized. We're turning that off for CanCan, and we are turning it on for Pundit, which is after action verify authorized. And I have this kind of global comment that I use, which is remove after Pundit transition. So everywhere I've been doing this, we've done it kind of controller by controller rather than trying to do one massive migration. I've just been doing them controller by controller at the moment. So that is what we're using to then go back, because then once it's done and we're only using Pundit and not CanCan, we can then put this in application controller so it applies everywhere, pull them all out of the individual controllers, and then rather than specifying it every time, you then only have to do opt-outs when you don't want Pundit to say, hey, just a heads up, you need to tell me that you didn't want to authorize the user in that controller action. So here we have 9 tests that are now passing. So like I said, I've now switched this to Pundit. Let's just check that policy again. Does what I think it should do. Because I'm not 100% sure. Oops. 100% sure. Like if that's the same check we're doing. Donation dot pending. That's part of the state machine. So we use access state machine for that. But I think that's the reason we have claim in here, because now we've separated that out. So when we move to edit, we basically just get false if there's no user. We don't care about that at all, because once it's been claimed, claim is the only point where we don't need a user to be there. Other than that, for everything else when we're editing the donation, we need a user, and that user has to be this. Does it? Do we care if that's nil on both? The trouble is the donation validates user past a certain state, so it can't be nil on both. I think the combination of CanCan versus that claim process is where this is coming from. All right, so again, without much context, maybe this isn't really making any sense, but I have no idea. So if you've watched any of this and found any of it useful, cool. So let's write this one up. So again, what I tend to do at this point is run the entire test suite to check that it does what it thinks we should do. The tests seem fine on that controller action. We do have feature tests or integration tests around that as well, so going through checking that you get kicked out in the right place. So there are like, and then as I said, we validate on the model as well. So there are tests around this, so I was fairly confident that things were working for most users. And people we haven't had that issue reported, so I'm not really sure what happened to those 2 people, but I do apologize for the delay in your day that probably caused, so that sucks. But when people do that, when that exception would have come up, we would have checked to say they could make it. They just had to start again, and it doesn't happen the second time through because they'd be logged in or something. So it's really annoying, but people can then usually finish the process. So when we get things flag up in Rollbar, you get an email, go and take a look, and then by the time, if it's happened out of hours especially, they've usually just gone back a step, gone forward. So it's a hiccup, but it's not the end of the world, so really annoying. Okay, so let's find some Git stuff. So that's the work we did yesterday that got merged to master. Actually, so that can go. Fix issue, fix that. So I do use Git in the console, but I just find source tree pretty helpful. I don't actually like many of the other Git clients, but I work on a couple of projects where we work on a lot of branches. As you can tell, this is not not one of them. For mainly, some of these can really go. Just kind of spikes and test stuff. So let's just pop this in. Swap. set up controller to use Pundit. This is causing some sort of issue where a user could see an error. That'll do. Issue is found in Rollbar. That's what I'm going to do actually. Close this. One thing I probably don't do enough of, I've got another browser open somewhere, yeah, there we go, is if you do that, I think it will link to the GitHub issue in the commit, which is pretty helpful. I don't do that enough actually, especially for issues, because they're usually auto-generated by Rollbar, they're usually not that helpful. Like I said at the start, they kind of don't group that well, or they didn't used to. Fixes 365. I know if you put fixes and closes, I think there are words you can use. So GitHub close issue from comment. Yeah, you can use fixes and closes. So that's kind of, that just came out of habit. I have done that. So if we do fixes 365, I don't know if it closes it when I push it up to a branch, but I think maybe when the branch gets merged to master. Yeah, when the pull request is merged into your repository's default branch as a master, the corresponding issue is automatically closed. The annoying thing here is actually that might not close the roll, that might not resolve the rollbar. I think the rollbar exception only works one way, where you resolving the issue closes the resolving the rollbar issue. Is that what they call it? Rollbar item, items, closes the GitHub issue. But I don't think closing the GitHub issue does it the same way around. So that is annoying. But anyway, where is that source tree? Okay, so that is a fix for that one. So again, what we'll do is resolve this issue with the commit message. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, I tend not to do that until the deploy is live, because if you happen to, I know this only happened like twice randomly in the last 60 days, but we don't want it to happen again just in that period between the fix going into the repo and it actually being live in production, because it reopens the rollbar item, which gets really confusing. So you I find it more helpful to hit resolve once it's definitely out in production. So that can actually mean leaving these open. So I work on a couple of repos where if something's in QA for a while and then it gets merged, and there's a delay before the deploy, we actually have a lot of rollbar items, or some that sit open for quite a long time, which can get a bit frustrating. That's why I mention it, just because I know that they sit open and everyone has to write comment down here. Also, another thing that we have had not issues with, but just being aware of, is writing content on the rollbar item doesn't automatically copy it over into the GitHub issue, and we tend to use GitHub as a more central repository than Rollbar. Rollbar's pretty transient. It holds the exceptions for a while, and then if it hasn't reoccurred, they kind of fade away. Bot issues tend to be like that, where they've hit a path and there's some sort of exception that's been raised because they did it with some random query string or whatever it is. So if you're going to put your comments in, it doesn't have to be Rollbar, Honey Badger, whatever it is you're using, just be aware they might not end up in your central repository of data. Luckily, I think if I merge this one in, I think it will say closed by, and then it will reference the commit. So let me just see. and they're here. If we can see, those tests should kind of be running now that I have pushed it up. It's happening on Heroku, so bear with me just a moment. So we use Heroku for CI. Yep, so can we see this? Yeah, it's all pretty normal stuff in there. Nothing major. So you can see the test running here. So it takes a while. It does a setup and then it runs the test in there. And then you get a pass and fail. That is then linked to GitHub if you make it a pull request. So we can do that if you want to take a look at that process. So for some of you this will be super familiar, it'll be your workflow, but if not, so GitHub will, because it's a new branch, it will offer us an immediate, hey, do you want to make a pull request option. So I can show you the workflow here. So if this was a larger one, we could do a code review or whatever it is. Kind of see everything in here that we've just done. So we can create that pull request. And I'm hoping what we should see is, yeah, fixes 365 will now give us the link through to 365. And yeah, so then down here is where you get, we added a commit that referenced the issue, referenced a pull request that will close this issue now. Well, not now, but when it's merged. Referenced a pull request that will close this issue. That's pretty cool. So merging the pull request will then close the issue. So everything kind of cascades down that flow. If you're not used to using GitHub, that can be a really helpful tool if you're using issues to track what you're doing. I know some teams use issues for things that aren't issues, even for features or their specs and things like that. GitHub, we don't have them turned on, but GitHub also has a projects feature where I think it'll actually kind of like create an issue. I think the wording around that is kind of weird. It'll create an issue for stuff you're building, and I think the same thing is true. You can kind of reference them in your commit messages. So all I had to do was type the hash. Where's that gone? Here. I only had to type it in my commit message. There's no link between source tree, which is my Git client, and the Git repo. So just the hash 365. GitHub just picks up one of the hashes with numbers after them, and makes that happen. All right, so that's going to go live into production, and then I can mark that as resolved. So I'm going to wrap that up there. I might come back on later and do another one because I know there's another one that I want to get fixed. So I'm just going to take a break for a minute. Again, I'm looking for any feedback. So if anyone finds these useful or totally doesn't, I would be interested. Yeah, have a great day.